Senate Bill 145 it's an anti-discrimination law. It ends discrimination against LGBTQ young people on the sex offender registry. It is a law that, or a bill that is supported by law enforcement. Both the district attorneys and the police chiefs support this bill. The rape crisis centers support this bill. And Children Now, which is a children's advocacy organization, supports the bill. As well as LGBTQ civil rights organizations. Right now, there are situations where you have basically teenagers and college-age kids who are having sex, and straight kids do not have to go on the registry, the sex offender registry, but gay kids have to go on the sex offender registry. The judge has discretion to look at the facts of the case and decide whether or not to put a straight kid on the registry. But for gay kids, the judge must put the person on the registry. And this can create some really horrific situations.
That's deep. So SB 384 does not mandate lifetime registration for lewd and lascivious conduct with a child under 14 years of age, yet inexplicably such conduct with a child over 14 somehow does require automatic lifetime registration.
What's up, y'all? What's up, guys? Super Mike. 2164. Like and share. Like and share. Press subscribe. Press subscribe. Press subscribe. Like and share. I'm gonna do this video. Talking about SB 145. Scott Wiener which is a California senator in Sacramento. And I just want to get my take on it. I did some research, but this is a huge subject. Decades. This thing has been decades. I mean, we just don't understand, some of us. Everything is connected. And just on this particular bill, when we start to see manifestations of stuff that we don't like as a civilized community, right? If you don't like something, that's when you become alarmed. But a lot of times that's when it's too late. And it's not necessarily too late, but it's going to be a while before you start seeing wins, because your opposition has been putting in work and not seeing their wins for decades. They've been stacking up work for decades. And we got to understand some things. And a lot of those things go counter to what we've been taught in mainstream society. We have, as mainstream society in America, we have a very, very, very perverted, warped, and confusing sense of morality. We don't have no morality. We don't have a moral code. And that's because the religion has been undermined. The basic religion, the tenets of the basic religion was undermined before the country even existed. The kind of Christianity that blacks were taught, if that Christianity was practiced, the situation in the United States would not ever exist. This would not be like this. Because you have a lot of lies, you got a lot of kidnappings, enslavements, murders, lies, everything that's going against the Ten Commandments. So this don't have nothing to do with Beatitudes, Jesus, love, righteousness, goodness. This don't have shit to do with that. The criticism of the bill is that it takes off the sex registry, the sexual predator registry. I can look it up for you, and I will look it up. But in California, you can just drop any address and and it's not just in California, it's everywhere, but you can get all of the registered sex offenders. You can see the pictures, you can see the situations that's going on with them. And, that's a big deal here in California. He said, to be fair, his argument is that in California you have, if there's a boy, if there's penis and vaginal penetration, then and it's a consensual sex act, it just because maybe the boy or the girl is 20 or 19, and then the sex partner may be underage, 17, that person does not have to register for life as a sex offender. And that seems fair, right? But, seems fair because when you're putting those two ages, 19 and 17, together. But, this man's range is 10 years. So that means that a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old, or a 25-year-old and a 15-year-old can, according to what I'm not an attorney, but we all have the right to look at the law, and we all have the right to read reports on the law and analysis of the law. And that man is advocating that people who, you have 25-year-olds, you have 24-year-olds, 23-year-olds having sex with underage people, and they're not sex offenders. It's still a crime, but nobody has to know it for past a few years, right? And this is called consensual. But the grooming and all this other stuff, like I said, you're setting a situation up, and what his argument is that if it's a girl and a boy, they don't have to register as a sex offender. But if it's a boy and a boy, or a girl and girl, I guess, I don't know if it's a girl and girl, but I think it's boy and boy. If it's a homosexual relationship, then they have to automatically register as sex offender, and the judge doesn't have discretion. Keep in mind, his bill gives the judge discretion, meaning the judge can do more of what they want to do. They can be selective in their and how they do that. So that's inviting even more racism into the context. But what most people said is the bill is unnecessary, because currently, no one wants females in males. Nobody wants to encourage older men and women, or to be pursuing these sexual relationships with people 10 years younger than them, down to 14, 15 years old and stuff like that. So in order for his bill to, if he wanted parity, all he had to do is just amend the current law, which is Senate Bill 384, which he has something to do with, and that would have been done there. It would have been equal. But what he wanted to do is drive the society even more in debauchery. So instead of protecting the young girls, okay, from these older sexual predators, he just opened up the young boys to these older sexual predators. And so this is the criticism. That's the criticism. That's going the wrong way. We need the problems that we're dealing with here is from centuries, really, but at least very much decades, but really centuries of piled up, unresolved, huge lack of moral code in the United States civilized, world. They raped slaves, they lied, they killed people, just to get their way, stole money, and now that slavery was over, the people still had that lust to rape, to murder, and to lie and steal, and so they're making it legal. And so that's the criticism there. So we're gonna have more commentary on it. I'm gonna look up something on we'll look up at the sex registry and all this type of thing, so that y'all can see some of these things. But and then you make the connection with Kamala Harris. This is what's happening in California. It's a lot of nasty, overt nasty stuff. I mean, it's nasty stuff all over this country, but this stuff is overt, and it's a slippery road when you don't have a moral code to go by, an absolute right. You have to have something that is sacredly right and sacredly wrong. And people need to understand what is sacred. You have to have sacred cows, as they would call them. If you don't have that, this is what we got. We got chaos. Everything is built. Civilization is built around an idea. That's what it's built around. And it's a spiritual idea, because there's nothing else that's keeping a civilization together except some type of moral family. There's a spiritual system. There's something that keeps people together and keeps them harmonizing, and there is a system that's developed that's functional. And if you don't have something like that, if you break that down, you ain't got nothing. You don't got nothing. But the thing is that moral code has to be moral. That moral code has to be true. And if you have lied, if you lie or ignore facts in order to maintain your moral code, then it's not going to last anyway, because people are going to shoot holes in it. So anyway, you know, right at this moment, that's kind of what I'm talking about with this dude and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You know, we got pictures and all kind of history of Joe Biden filling on girls and women, and you know, and Donald Trump doing the same thing, talking about grabbing him by the pussy, and his wife sexual, you know, them interviewing Cardi B. This is just disgusting. How are you going to interview Cardi B instead of Ice Cube? Talking about you dealing with black people. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden interviewed Cardi B. She's not supposed to be legitimized. That is disgusting. That wop, wet ass pussy. That's disgusting. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like, but the thing is, though, we support this now because we've been literally trained, and we've been actually, as a society, over the years, we've been kind of groomed. They've been, I mean, with the Disney cartoons, all of this stuff matters. It makes it easy for us to accept lapses in morality. Rapes are all over the place. It's no big deal, you know. Murders, people murder, stealing. And the thing is, if you just institute the law, people mad at R. Kelly. Now, I know he did evil, and he's, you know, they want to demonize him now, but black folks were screaming about R. Kelly back in '94. But nobody wanted to do nothing because he was making the money. All of a sudden, we develop a moral spine, and R. Kelly is evil, right? But at the very fucking same time, you're voting for, you know, Senate Bill 145 that opens up young boys to sexual predators and reduces the penalties that they will incur. Hey, like I said, you know, all we can do is let this thing collapse. Let this thing collapse. We have to keep ourselves safe, organized, and people who want to have a moral code, who can agree upon what is right and what is wrong. And that's going to take some time even for us, because we have been, you know, we're so warped. Because if we was to bring down a strict law of what's right and what's absolute wrong, like right away like that, a lot of us would not survive that law. So we have to, just like they groomed us nasty, just like a pedophile would, I guess, groom these kids. That's how they groom the whole society. They groomed us to accept this crap. You know, and it's just a step-by-step process. And that's what I think that's going on with this Senate Bill 145. They give you 10 years, and you say, oh, well, you know, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, that's not bad. It's against the law. Now, I think that should be a totally different process in fixing that, but, you know, this is their law, and it should be adhered to. You know, these people talking about now a 24-year-old and a 15-year-old. 25-year-old and a 15-year-old. But how many years before they increase that number to 20 years difference, to 30 years difference?
A few minutes later.
To the family, this is Super Mike, and I want to go over this Scott Wiener guy, this weirdo. I call him a weirdo, but we're going to go over a couple things, and then I'm done with this. Let's see here. Let me get everything set up first. Hold on. Everybody, look at that. That noise is my son. He likes to tear up paper. Don't worry about that. This group here, All right, so this here is a State Senator Scott Wiener with his friends. This is called the Up Your Alley Leather Folsom events. So this is the Folsom Street Fair over there on 10th Street down there in old San Francisco with their old weirdo stuff that they do there. This is, you know, normal white guy stuff, right? This is what's happening. So what I wanted to do is, now this law here, Scott always is writing laws. He writes laws that tend to favor pushing the entire society closer to his ideology, his mindset. So I'm just saying, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at laws written by this Democrat, this guy, Scott Wiener, California, and it's approved, obviously, because these things are being passed. These laws are being passed. This is the mindset that you want to spread all over to the United States. This is what's happening here. So before I do that, I want us to look at this here. So I believe back in, 1972, there's a thing out there that's called the documentation of the homosexual agenda. Now, this thing here, this was filed in the Library of Congress. And what I do, I like to see what's the pros and cons on it. According to what I see, they say that this is a a joke. Look at this here. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just highlighted a couple parts of it. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on here. I try to be as fair as possible, but my agenda is black power. Black empowerment, meaning black people should control their own destiny. We should have our own arguments. You know, no, we're not perfect. Black folks are not perfect. But the thing is, we can solve our own problems. We can argue. We can come up with solutions to our own problems. We don't need white people, white solutions, white folks to tell us what to do. Otherwise, we'll kill ourselves. We really don't need that. We can protect ourselves, and that's just my philosophy. So now when I'm looking at this here, I don't think that this is our agenda. This agenda is not bringing black folks to the power that we need to be in. You know, I just don't believe that. So let's go through some of it. I'm not reading all this stuff, but it starts off with this. It says, this is by Michael Swift. It's called a Gay Revolutionary, reprinted from the Congressional Record of the United States Congress, first printed in the Gay Community News, February 15 through the 21st, 1987. Okay? And they come off straight up talking about, we shall sodomize your sons, emblems of your feeble masculinity, of your shallow dreams and vulgar lies. So they're coming off as hostile towards functional, normal human existence. This is normal people. I'm sorry if you think that saying that heterosexual normal people are normal, but that's what it takes to create what we have here. And so that is normal, okay? Heterosexual relationships are the standard. Sorry if you don't believe that, but that is according to the agenda of life, okay? There's another section of this says all laws banning homosexual. This is the agenda. And now the thing is, they say this is satire, but we see that these things are agenda items that are coming into law, right? All laws banning homosexual activity will be revoked. Instead, legislation shall be passed which engenders the love between men. Now, love, they equate love to something disgusting, but love have nothing to do with sex. All homosexuals must stand together as brothers. We must be united artistically, philosophically, yada, yada, yada. It's disgusting. All right. Now, another thing that their agenda item says, our writers and artists will, they will make this fashionable. And we will succeed because we are adept at style setting. Okay. There will be no compromises. We are not middle-class weaklings. Highly intelligent, we are the natural aristocrats of the human race. And steel-minded aristocrats never settle for less. Those who oppose us will be exiled. This is their mindset. And we know this when there's no middle ground with these people. They are very hostile to, if you look at the agenda of Black Lives Matter, they're hostile to the nuclear family. So the family unit spawning ground of lies, betrayals, and mediocrity, hypocrisy, and violence will be abolished. So these people, they want to destroy it because they've been hurt by their families. They wanted to destroy everybody's families. That's how these people think. And that's, you can't have that as leadership. They want to, all churches who condemn us will be closed. You think these people are not trying to do this? One of the major requirements for a position of power in the new society of homoeroticism will be indulgence in the Greek passion. Notice that they call this the Greek passion. And this is white supremacy. We shall rewrite history. So that means they'll lie. And that's where you have the LGBT agenda as far as in the schools. So they want to amend all federal civil rights acts. Now, federal civil rights acts are from black folks sections. So they demand passage of a LGBT civil rights bill and to end discrimination by state and federal governments, including the military, repeal of all sodomy laws. And see, that's what this SB 145 is about. That criminalize private sexual expression between. Now SB 145 is actually more radical than this because they at least said expression between consenting adults, meaning they kept the pedos out of there. But SB 145 makes it easier on the pedos. I'm just trying to get to. So existing law makes it a felony punishable by imprisonment in the state prison for 16 months or 2 or 3 years in the county jail for up to 1 year or a fine not exceeding, and they won't let you go over $2,500. Now, or by both the fine and imprisonment to knowingly possess or control child pornography as specified. This bill would make it either a felony punishable by imprisonment in the state prison for 16 months or 2 to 5 years. So this bill increases that penalty, ability of the judge to give you a penalty from 3 years max to 5 years for possessing this stuff. And they don't want to have, and see, that's another thing about pornography that black folks need to understand. when we have all this, when we allow all of this ghetto gaggers crap, you're advertising your people. So when other groups of people see your women, see your kids, that's what they're thinking. People who consume this stuff. So really and truly, if we were trying to get our society in the right direction, we would ban all this crap. That crap would be banned. But we're not ready for that because we've all kind of been, turned to sickos. But let's move on. So, it increases a few penalties, discretion for judges for possessing this kind of child crime attorney. So I look at this. This is from the Dordulian Law Group blog. It says, why California Senate Bill 145 is misguided and unnecessary. Under existing law, the Sex Offender Registry Act requires a person convicted of certain sex crimes or to register as a sex offender with law enforcement officials while residing, working, or attending school in California. California Senate Bill 145 purportedly seeks to amend that law in an effort to end blatant discrimination against LGBT young people regarding California's sex offender registry. Okay, so they're saying that, Scott Wiener says that he's actually just trying to make the law fair. He's trying to make it equal with the heterosexual situation. The issue in question concerns how the law views different types of sex crimes involving minors. Under existing law, illegal sexual relations between a teenager age 15 and over and a partner within 10 years of age do not automatically require the offender to go onto the sex offender registry if the offense in question involves vaginal intercourse. In such instances, a judge must examine the facts of the case and determine whether or not sex offender registration is warranted. Now, that is a serious situation, registering for that sex offender thing. Registry. Sexual relations between teenagers age 15 and over and partner within 10 years of age that involve instances of oral anal intercourse do require automatic sex offender registration, and a judge has no say whether or not such registration is warranted. Believing that such a distinction disproportionately targets LGBT young people for mandatory sex offender registration, since LGBT people usually cannot engage in vaginal intercourse, State Senator Scott Wiener introduced SB 145. The bill, however, is sadly misguided. You see that word they said? So basically they're saying that, okay, if that thing involves whether male or female, sexual relations between teenagers 15 and over and a partner within 10 years of age. So this means that this person can be messing with, a 25-year-old can be messing with a 15-year-old. This is not something that we should encourage, male or female. Okay. So this, if they're doing that, and so if they're doing that, and it involves instances of oral or anal intercourse, they do require automatic sex offender registration. Now, there's a lot of folks, there's enough people out there who don't agree that that's fair. But I'm saying if we're trying to guide this society to a more moral and a more stable situation, then that's what we should be for that. You don't want to induce people. You want to restrict, you want to protect your young people as much as possible. So the goal of SB 145, according to the bill's language, is to exempt from mandatory registration under the Act a person convicted of certain offenses involving minors if the person is not more than 10 years older than the minor. And if that offense is the only one requiring the person to register, but rather than amend existing law, so the existing law to include vaginal intercourse, meaning that instead of adding a new law that, let me just finish reading this. So instead, but rather than amend existing law to include vaginal intercourse with a minor as an act that requires mandatory sex offender registration, which would in effect remedy what Senator Scott Wiener apparently views as discrimination, the bill aims to make all criminal acts with a minor over 14 equal by providing offenders with an opportunity to evade said mandatory registration. Doing so would be a disservice to survivors of those sex offenders, to communities, and to law enforcement officials. I'm not worried about the law enforcement officials, but we are worried about the survivors of these sex offenders. Okay, because these people, they go in there and then they warp people's minds. This is not something that you want to encourage, because your children are your future, and if you mess up their thinking, there's a lot of kids out here that have a real disgusting mindset because of stuff that adults did to them, or older people, adults that, are, even if they're within 10 years of age, but they're too old. So survivors who attackers manage to receive light sentences not befitting their crimes would be forced to accept that those convicted attackers could also evade the former mandatory punishment rightfully designated them as sex offenders depending on a judge's decision. Communities would be forced to accept the sex offenders could now potentially live anonymously among law-abiding citizens. Law enforcement officials would be forced to accept that their ability to properly monitor sex offenders could be potentially compromised. All of these scenarios unacceptable and highly concerning. Moreover, given that another bill Senator Wiener authored has already passed, SB 384, which we discussed on a previous blog, such unfortunate scenarios are entirely unnecessary. SB 384 changes the current lifelong registry system mandated for all sex offenders to a tier-based system where certain offenders who file a petition and meet specific criteria can be eligible to be removed from the list. See? In other words, if an individual is convicted of a sex crime with a minor, he or she is able to petition to be removed from the sex offender registry after 10 years. SB 384 has already passed and is set to become law on January 1st, 2021. So they're going to get off of this thing. And you ain't going to be able to tell them where they at. But there is a deeply concerning aspect of SB 384 that I believe must be addressed immediately, certainly before shifting the focus to SB 145. It is, in its current form, SB 384 does not mandate lifetime registration for lewd and lascivious, whatever, I need to figure out how to pronounce that, lascivious conduct, lewd and lascivious conduct. with a child under 14 years of age. Yet, inexplicably, such conduct with a child over 14 somehow does require lifetime registration. Listen to that. That's deep. So, SB 384 does not mandate lifetime registration for lewd and lascivious conduct with a child under 14 years of age, yet inexplicably, such conduct with a child over 14 somehow does require automatic lifetime registration. So that's actually encouraging people to go, because first of all, these people to me are very sick, and they could be getting help if this behavior was determined as absolutely sick as it is, then these people would be more encouraged to go get mental help. And I think we would see less of this crap. Because people can get this mental help when they have these problems. If you have this problem where you got this stuff in your head that directs you towards a kid, then there should be places, they should invest in places where these folks can get private counseling, get themselves mentally, squared away. That's what you pay these psychologists to go to school for. Pay them, figure out what's wrong with the folks, and get them to where they can, live their lives without breaking this law because they have these weird issues in their thinking. All this is about thinking. So given the passage of SB 384 and the opportunities it affords sex offenders who commit lesser crimes, I would argue that rather than focus on purported inequalities in the justice for sex offenders on minors within 10 years of their age, Senator Wiener should address the aforementioned blunder, within the language of SB 384, given the potential ramifications. It must be an immediate priority of the California legislation. Until that oversight within SB 384 is addressed, SB 145 should be considered moot. That said, if and when SB 384 is properly amended, I still find SB 145 unnecessary. If Senator Wiener is truly concerned with equality as it relates to justice for sex offenders of minors, I suggest that he considers introducing a bill that makes vaginal intercourse with minors a crime, which it should be. You shouldn't be going after no kids, okay? These are children. But this is what white people want. This is what they want. So, and there's not all white people, of course, don't want this, because there's this person who right here is probably a white person. But the point is, their society in aggregate, as a collection, this is where it's pushing everybody to this Greek thing, the old Greek practice, okay? And we know what happened to Greece. Old Greece fell, right? Just like Rome, this is the expiration of the society. In its proposed form, under the guise of preventing LGBT young people from automatically register as sex offenders for specified sex crimes, SB 145 actually deteriorates the rule of law by providing any individual who sexually assaults a minor an opportunity to be potentially evade the sex offender registry. The very registry that, as of January 1st, under SB 384, would allow predators to petition for removal after 10 years. Wow. SB 145 is a misguided attempt to amend laws that the bill's sponsors argue disproportionately target LGBT people, I would argue that allowing more 25-year-olds who assault 15-year-olds and an opportunity to avoid the sex offender registry is no service to the LGBT community. Rather, it hamstrings a valuable deterrent for reducing sex crimes that deleteriously impact all communities. Most importantly, there's a far more urgent issue that requires the attention of the California's elected officials. And so I like that. And that's the reason why I read the whole thing. This is the Law Group blog, and they just came out here. Do you think Scott and his friends, is Scott talking to his friends here? Let's look on the registry here. Now that's 10th Street down there in San Francisco. That's like Market Street. So we'll type in 10th Street Market. That's like Polk. So let's look for it. Let's see. I bet you some of his friends are on this. This is the, we're going to look and see the people. I want to see if we see some of these people that Scott's hugged up with on the registry here. So let's see. I think you can go through 1355 Market Street is right there around where they are standing in this picture on Twitter. And that's actually right there by Twitter. That's actually right there by Twitter's place. Let me see, 1355 Market Street. All right, so let's look at this. Let's do a 2-mile search of all of the weirdos, sex offenders that hang out there. Look at that. Dang. That's how many people is. Okay, let's see here. All right, so this is Market Street. Great. Dolores. This is where they're standing. Right here. Right there. So we got a pedo here. Let's look at this. Who is that? My God. How did he even get out? This dude. These two. They both live right there. Let's see if we got them in the picture. If they hugged up with Scott Wiener. I don't know. If they anywhere in there. Those two guys. I want to see if we can find one of these dudes hugged up with Scott Wiener in this registry. I wonder if they live around there. I mean, you know, we may not find them, but, you know, I'm going to look. So these two, we'll see what did this guy get messed up for. Okay. Armor, Vanner, Dane. This dude, lewd or lascivious acts with a child. Look, he's going to be off. This man here is going to be able to get off the thing, the sex registry, January 1st. And he was convicted in 1992. He was released in 1992. But he had to register for a sex offender. But now he doesn't. In January 1st, I know he loves Scott. He's probably hugged up with Scott for real. Let's look at these, that. What about this dude? Oh, what was he doing? Look at that. This is all people that's going after kids. Lewd or lascivious acts with a child under 14. This man will be off of that list. So I wonder if Scott is going around talking to his neighbors around there. I wonder if Scott was going around talking to his neighbors. So what are you in here for? What are you having to register for? And they probably told Scott, get us off of this list. I'm like, wow, y'all, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is out here. This is the Democrats. Let's look at something else. Let's try to see what's the other one. Let's just look at the list. We got, these are all these people. Let's look at some of the black ones. Let's look at what he did. They say he did. Aaron Peter. He will be off the list. He was convicted 1990 and released 1991. It looked like he got burnt up or something, or it's just alopecia. He's just got regular alopecia. But you will be able to go down there and tell where he's at. Let's look at this guy. Same thing. These guys lewd or lascivious acts with a child. So under SB 384, like all of these guys that I just pulled up will be coming off January 1st because of Scott Wiener. This is, so see, if they did something with someone over 14, they have to continue to register. But if it's under 14, according to that article that I just read here, see, it says that given the passage, it affords commit these people. It says SB 384 does not mandate lifetime registration. I'm going to take a picture of that. SB 384 does not mandate lifetime registration for lewd and lascivious conduct with a child under 14 years of age. Yet, inexplicably, such conduct with a child over 14 somehow does require automatic lifetime registration. Let's look at a couple more and then we're done. Because this is important, y'all. I'm trying to find somebody with a regular thing. Let's see what this dude did, according to what he said he did. All of these people are coming off. Look at this. Oh, but he wouldn't come off because he has more than one thing. So, this man is just, why isn't he in jail forever? According to what they say. What's his risk assessment? He has risk assessments. I don't see that. This dude, what is he doing? Oh my God, look at this. Straight up rape. So he has a score. Let's see what this means. So they have a risk assessment. I guess risk level 1, very low risk of reoffending. I guess this risk assessment is the same. It says it's the same actuarial method that's used to determine risk when setting rates of life insurance or car insurance. So this is how they determine whether these people have low risk or high risk or whatever. This is something else. Dude, this man looked crazy. Yeah, okay. They say you get a low reoffending risk level. I wouldn't trust it. What did the brother do? He works there. It means he's a transient. And they got him continuously. He would be off of it because they say that it was lower. He was convicted and released in 1990. What do we do with y'all? What do we think? What do we think? Now the thing is, we do have to also mention this. No matter how weird these people look, no matter how weird these folks look, white, black, everybody, we know that, the law lies sometimes, all kind of situations. You're really not sure what actually happened. But, it's a good chance that a lot of them did it. Okay? It's a good chance. Do you agree that there should be lifetime registration of sex offenders forever? Or I just think that maybe they should be, if they have not committed a crime, maybe they should just be they should be public, probably forever. That crime should be public that they did. I don't know, if somebody has been convicted of something and 20 years has passed, 30 years has passed, should they have to continuously go down to I guess register somewhere? I don't know what the process is for them. This dude is in violation. Dang. There's a lot of homeless people downtown in San Francisco too. This dude just got put up for a straight rape. This is some stuff that's a 1. Average risk. Dang. This is just deep here. Anyway, this is Scott Wiener. This is what this man wants going on. Whose friend is this? Scott Wiener is friends with who? There you go. Kamala Harris. That's her friend. She's been friends with him for 20 years, according to his word here. They're buddies. Kamala Harris, Scott Wiener. That's, she's just as bad as him with her sex issues.